Hello there, welcome back to the Agostino Zinga show with your host Agostino Zinga, and this is episode number 937. That is 937 of the Agostino Zinga show, coming at you live and direct from an undisclosed location somewhere within the depths of East London. How you doing? How you feeling, ladies and gentlemen? Great, amazing. How am I? All good, all things considered. All good, all things considered. As you can tell, I'm freshly hydrated, freshly showered. I feel strong, I feel light, I feel focused, and I'm ready to go. Ready to cram a whole year's worth of work into 4 months, free to be exact. 4 months, free to be exact. Going pedal to the metal, trying my darndest. Is it gonna work? Is it gonna happen? Who flipping knows? Who flipping knows? Who flipping knows? Who flipping knows? But we're gonna try, innit? We're gonna try. How have I been apart from that? All things not too bad. There's been a big conversation regarding United that I probably will touch upon in another pod. I'll make that probably more football focused in terms of our signings and some of the players that we sold and whether or not we had a good transfer window. Personally, I think we're still playing catch up. I still scratching my head, can't figure out why we hired a manager like Amorim, who quite clearly needs players, needs particular profile of players to play his brand of football. He needs signings. We're a club that generally doesn't sign a lot of players. We sign players, but we don't do, sweeping wholesale changes like clubs like Liverpool do. We never have done that historically. So it still boggles my mind why the club thought it would be a good idea to hire a guy like Amorim, who doesn't just work with what you got. He needs a particular brand of players to play a particular brand of football. He's also very stubborn in his approach of how to play football. And obviously maybe in the Premier League, I think personally, and I think he would also agree, you probably need to be a bit more flexible in terms of the style of plays that you adopt in games to kind of counteract different teams and different challenges. But we didn't give him the money in January, we didn't get him the players that he needed to save the season in January. Because I think if we would have saved the season in January and we wouldn't have finished 15th, we would have finished 10th, the sentiment around the club will be completely different. The outlook on the club will be completely different. But I think that 15th place finish for me, man, being a fan of my club, that 15th place finish last season, it just stings too much. That was really bad, and that was I think majority on the manager and also on the players. That was a collective failure on everybody's part. So it's hard for me then to turn around and say, oh yeah, this summer transfer window has been a success because we've signed what, Mbuemo and Cunha. And maybe Sesko. Well, yeah, you can count those three because they're the 3 main senior ones. I can't say that because we needed probably 8 players to come in for us to really look like a different team. If you include midfielders and maybe 1 fullback and maybe a goalkeeper, we needed, man. So as much as I'm happy we have somebody, right? I'm not gonna look a gift horse in the mouth, right? As much as I'm happy that we have some players in, because this could have been worse. We could have just gone through the summer season with not signing anybody and just promoting young players. We didn't do that. So I'm happy that that's happened. We've signed some players, but for me to sit here and convince myself that this is good enough, I don't think it is. I really don't think it is. And if it does, you know what happens, right? Here's my theory. I think if somehow Amorim manages to get us to finish in the top 10, I think he deserves a lot of credit. A lot of people like myself are like not that sure on him. 15th place finish is just unacceptable because I think, Erik ten Hag left with enough time for him to really make a mark on that team. I don't think he came in the middle of the season. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Amorim was hired around October or November. That's plenty of time to take over and kind of rid, the stench from the other manager, and he didn't do that. So the fact that he didn't do that for me is very concerning. But if this bloody manager manages to fucking have us finishing in the top 10, I'm going to hold my hands up and say he did a fucking great job. All things considered. When you consider the league, you see what Liverpool are doing. They fucking bought Isaac, right? Just the other day. Etitike, how you fucking pronounce his name? He's looking like a fucking black Fernando Torres. He started off this season brilliantly, on fire. He looks like he has No need for adaptation. He looks brilliant. He looks well suited to fucking Liverpool's play. But they're fucking greedy and they went and signed Isak as backup. You know, or both of them to be backup for each other. So they're going for the fucking juggler. Man City are going for the juggler. Chelsea have signed 1 million players. Arsenal are obviously signed 1 million players. So all those teams are going to be pulling apart anyway. So if we manage to finish in the top 10, dare I say top 5, considering we finished 15th last season, that's an incredible fucking accomplishment, and I'll give the manager all the praise if that happens. It's unlikely it will happen, but I give him all the praise that happens. So I'll probably cover it in full in tomorrow's podcast properly. But those are some of my immediate feelings when it comes to that. I'm also not buying this fucking propaganda the club's putting out about fucking SykoStu. The manager didn't really give him a look during pre-season. It didn't look like he was going to play this season even before his injury. But now that he's injured, now the transfer window's closed, the fucking club's PR has come out and said, yeah, SykoStu is one of the midfielders being considered as our brother. You loaned out fucking Toby Collier. And he's good enough to be a fucking body, to be an options player midfield. You don't play him. SykoStu is injured. And he looks, in my opinion, he looks a bit slight anyway. He probably needs to put on a bit of muscle before he kind of gets used to playing in the Premier League. So I'm not buying all that propaganda. His manager's going to have to make use of what he has. He's shown in the past that he kind of struggles to do so. But you never know. New season, things could change. I'm already liking where we are on the table now. I like where we're at in the table right now. Right, I like where we're at in the table right now. Right, 1 win, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 loss. We're in a good position now in the table. I think we're even above Man City. Might be the only time we're going to be above Man City the entire season. But hopefully it continues. Hopefully it continues. I was talking the other day, right? Not actually talking. I was thinking the other day a lot about like music and stuff because, you know, in the next few weeks and stuff, I'm going to be really ramping up some of the DJ mixes and posting a bunch of clips of myself online and stuff, and, you know, kind of pushing that side of my kind of arsenal of skills, right? Because at the moment, everyone just sees me yapping, but I'm going to present something else, right? So in the next few weeks, that'll be happening. And obviously the aim for that will be for me to be able to play in some of the best clubs in the world that I've kind of gone to and loved, some of the best festivals in the world that I've kind of, you know, admired and adored from afar, and some that I've attended. And it's not to become like a full-time DJ, but it also to be something on the side, you know, just to do something on the side as like a fun thing. Maybe do my own parties, which will probably be something I'll probably end up doing more, because if I do my own parties, I can then decide when the party happens instead of just, you know, hoping to get a gig somewhere. But I want to put more of my DJing content out there. Anyway, long story less long, I was thinking to myself, like, it must be, I don't know if it is, but I'm guessing it is. It must be really hard to navigate the music industry or the entertainment industry or anything around those kind of lines, because you can't really do everything on your own. Yes, you can do everything on your own in terms of output, but at some point, if you want to like reach a bigger audience, if you want to tap into this scene, that scene, you're going to need to collaborate with people. You're going to need to ask for favors. You're going to need to ask for cosigns, introductions, you know, little things like that. You can still do your own, you can still be the master of your own destiny, don't get me wrong. But it does come a point where you're going to need people for certain things. And I was thinking to myself, you know what's really interesting about that? Most people, artists especially, I would say, are extremely sensitive. And there's a weird game that happens in the music industry where people kind of like pretend they don't know who you are, especially in the industry. I think with fans it's different, but I think in the music industry there is like a weird thing that happens where people don't know who, people pretend they don't know who you are. If you blow up and you become big, suddenly everyone knows who you are and everyone wants to kind of stand next to you. Even if you're just some random person. Do you remember that kid? I forgot that kid's name. Bless him, and I hope he's okay now. There was this kid who I think he's got some sort of, I think he's neurodivergent or something. This like light-skinned kid who was going viral here in the UK, and loads of people were just like standing next to him. They'd have him on shows, but he'd just be standing next to just random people, random celebrities and people that you know here in the UK. And that's kind of a representation or an example of how the game works, right? If you've got enough hype, if you've got enough clout behind you, enough fame behind you, people are going to stand next to you. And they're going to want to work with you because it's a mutually beneficial relationship, right? They can stand next to you, you can stand next to you and get some clout, you can stand next to them and get some clout. So that game of clout happens. But I was thinking to myself, you know what? I wonder if success in the music industry or in the entertainment industry at large is less to do with your skills and your ability or talent, whatever, and it actually has more to do with your ability to eat shit, your ability to be big timed, your ability to endure being big time, being egoed. Why do I say that? I say that because this clip has just been posted. Another fucking leaked Young Thug clip. Young Thug in this particular clip is talking to his manager and he's complaining about Durk. In this clip, I'm guessing he must have sent Durk a song, but Durk didn't send it back in time. He's not sending it back in time. He's kind of longing him off, ghosting him and shit. And this clip made me think, the music industry, it really isn't about talent. I think what it's about is your ability to endure ghostings, your ability to endure egos, your ability to endure being fucking Lil Broed. If you can endure being Lil Broed and being egoed and being big timed, you will probably make it big time. If you can kind of just tough it through, grin and bear it, when somebody that's like less experienced than you gets a big position, you don't hate. Grin and bear it when you know when you get left hanging behind the, or grin and bear it when you say you're on, when you put your name through on the guest list for a big artist and they don't put you on, and you get there and your name's on the fucking list and you feel embarrassed. You gotta be able to grin and bear it when you send somebody a track and they don't send it back straight away. That actually might be the key to making it. How much endurance do you have to take all those kind of ego blows, those pride blows? Because even in this clip, an artist as big as Young Thug, an artist as legendary as Young Thug, is kind of feeling away because a fellow artist isn't giving him probably the respect he thinks he deserves, or just simply sending back a tune in a timely manner. And now he's like thinking all these things in his head, and now he's trying to fill the gaps in and wonder what's going on. But this is a good example as to like how difficult it must be to navigate the music industry with all the egos, all the things going on. So let me play the clip of you. Let me play the clip for you, sorry, of Young Thug complaining during a prison phone call to his manager about Lil Durk not sending the tune back in time.
It gotta be. What's up with the boy Durk? You fuck with the boy Durk?
Yeah.
You need to make that nigga. You need to make that nigga. I don't know. I did a lot of player shit for the boy too though. When the boy career went where it supposed to be, man, Pluto. I was really like locked in with him, like just really fucking with him. But I don't know, he acting a little different.
And it's not my fault. It's a recording. The recording's only coming out of one ear, so please forgive me. It's probably been recorded in mono. It's not my fault. It's the recording's fault.
I don't like that, man.
What you mean?
Like
what he?
Well, I take that back. Young Thug's voice is coming from the left ear. Whoever's on the phone call with him, his manager's coming out the right ear.
A few songs, he just like shit. I know for sure going right up. He just goddamn taking his time, nigga go to
man,
4-5 days, 8 days later, just like that little type shit. Like, man, you got going on, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I already know what you mean.
Like, man, nigga done did too much shit for you, man. Watch out, nigga.
Yeah.
He did that on that album too. Yeah, I want them on that album. Yeah. He sent a song for my last album. Yeah, he sent a song for it. Then goddamn, when it's time to clear the song, he don't clear the song, so the song didn't make the album. Like, look,
he ain't cleared.
Man, didn't clear the song.
That's gonna hurt.
He ain't clear the song.
Yeah, he did. He worked out. Then you get on the internet, keep talking about thug this and that, man. Cut that cap ass shit out, man. You rap be crazy, boy. You rap a hell, boy.
So it did seem like, I'm not reading between the lines here, but I got the impression that Thug was kind of pissed that Durk wasn't sending the tune back because he might have done something for him as a favor. Now I'm happy that Thug didn't go all the way and start yapping about what he did for Durk, but it didn't sound like the favor he did for Durk or the favor he did on behalf of Durk was involving music. It sounds like, hey, you owe me, motherfucker. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, owe me. He was making that kind of assumption. But regardless, it's just a fascinating clip because, like I said, Young Thug is a big star. Young Thug, I think if you ask the layman outside, they'd probably say Young Thug is probably a bigger person or a bigger celebrity, most noteworthy rapper than probably Lil Durk, depending on who you ask. Don't get me wrong. I know there's some people that fucking swear by Smirk. They swear by Durk, yeah, right? They fucking love him. But Young Thug isn't some up and coming person, right? So if he's getting treated like this, if he's feeling like this, just imagine what it must be like for an up and coming person and how hard it is to fucking navigate. But this is where I think you will learn. This is the cheat code for anybody that is trying to make it in the industry. I think this is the cheat code. This is what you need to learn from these clips, is that however you feel at your level, inadequate, imposter syndrome, overlooked, undercompensated, whatever you feel, everybody else feels the same way. What actually separates you from the people that have made it is your ability to endure. That's the real key. That's the real trick. How much can you endure? That's a real cheat code. Sorry, not even trick. That's the real cheat code. How much shit can you endure? How much crow can you eat? That is the real test. And if you can endure a lot, you're going to be set. You're going to be good. You're going to be good. If you can't endure, then you're going to fall by the wayside. You're going to let business become personal and personal become business. And then soon you turn around and time's over, you know? That's exactly how it goes. Big up the stream chat too. Big up Kirimaru Sitsuma. It's mad, man. I'm negotiating with a label right now and the contracts are crazy. They want to own you or owe your shit for 70 years after you die. Yeah, it's fucking wild. That's why as rappers like Russ have said and other people have said, the real cheat code is to come into the game with your own capital. It's to start off with your own money. Back yourself that way. Fund your career for as long as you can yourself, and then once you get to negotiating a record deal with a record label, you would have a lot more leverage, you'd hope so anyway, to figure out, you know, what works best for you. But then again, that is easier said than done. That is a lot easier said than done, because if you're an artist for real, you're starving. You're just about hanging on, you know, just about fucking being able to rub two pennies together. So when a record label does come along with a fucking parachute, with a lifeline, and they give you $100,000, but then the terms of the contract, you know, are fucking crazy long and locks you in for this. I can see why people do it, because how else would they ever, like, some people were probably never gonna, there's probably some people in music, right, you probably thought to themselves, no, here's the rationale, I'm probably never gonna see $100,000 again, so I'm just gonna take this $100,000, even though it's gonna lock me into a horrible 360 deal, it's gonna have me owing mass amounts of debt, it's gonna have this label owing my masters, owing my shit, as fucking Kirimaru says, for 70 years. Fuck it, let me do it just so I can have a chance, just so I can eat, you know, just so I can eat. Which is fucking wild. And then all you have to do then is just to make sure you don't get dropped from the label, do enough to not get dropped from the label, and then you're basically set for life in a way, you know. Then when you get older, you can probably take a step back in the industry and maybe work behind the scenes as a writer, you know, engineer, whatever it may be. So I see how these labels do people, because making art, trying to put yourself out there is really costly. It's really fucking costly, especially when you don't have anything, right? Just the mere fact of having a subscription service, right? Being able to pay for SoundCloud, being able to pay for whatever else app, with this app, this streaming service, being able to book studio time, all these things cost money. So I understand why people get locked in shitty deals, because they don't have the money to begin with to make their dreams happen. So why not take the money from that label? But obviously the labels, you know, only after their self-interest. But yeah, I'm still annoyed as a fan of Thug. It's still disappointing to see how much snitching and yapping he was doing on the phones, especially when you consider how much he's been going at Gunna. You know, it'd be one thing if he left prison and was released in prison, came out and just kept himself to himself, kept his mouth shut, put his head down, just dropped music. But the fact that he's been coming out, no, even when he was incarcerated, he was talking about Gunna, leaking things, letting people know that he's not good because he snitched, because of this, because of that, really riding that thing hard. And, you know, it is what it is. If you're not from the streets, you won't get it. If you're just, you know, if you are from the streets, you probably still won't get it. But regardless, he has his point of view, he has his way of looking at things. But then it transpires through these fucking leaked phone calls that Gunna was actually doing way worse than what Gunna was. Young Thug was doing way worse than what Gunna was. You know? What did Gunna do? Like, acknowledge the fact that YSL was a gang, which it is. Cool, that's still snitching, but according to what Young Thug has been said on the phone, like, he's telling police about crimes and shit. You know? He's telling the police officers, yeah, if you want me to come back again, just let me know. He's asking them for sandwiches and shit. Like, you know, and drinks, so he can sit down comfortably and, you know, get to yapping. It's so disappointing. I'm not gonna lie, it's so disappointing. It's like raw, but it does make sense though, right? Whenever somebody's very loud, is very forward about one thing, against it, like in opposition to it, it's more than likely that they're gonna have some own skeleton in their closet. You know, it's kind of like those fucking it's kind of like those ministers in those churches who are very, very anti homosexuality, right? They talk about gay people going to hell, being burned, being this, being that. And then those are the same people who they find out, you know, they're involved in fucking orgies and shit on the weekends, you know? It's that fucking saying, innit? The lady doth protest too much. So I guess maybe we should have all kind of known that Young Thug was on that timing because he was talking way too much about rats for somebody that wasn't ratting himself. But hey, what do I know? What do I know? Something I don't know is BKCHAT, black chat, back chat, whatever it's fucking called. I think it's called BKCHAT. BKCHAT, I haven't seen this in a long time. I feel like BKCHAT had its peak maybe just before COVID or maybe during COVID. But essentially BKCHAT was this or is this discussion talk show thing. It's kind of like a battle of the sexes. It kind of, you know, I think it's more about the sexes, where they have black people in a makeshift kitchen, men and women arguing, right, about, you know, relationship stuff. It's usually about relationships, sex, dating, you know, all the things that involve men and women, basically fucking and stuff. That's what they talk about for the most part. But you know, there's some really big characters on the show. Some of them like to make their points very aggressively. Some of them like to make their points in a very humorous way. Some of them like to make their points in a very wacky way. But either way, it's non-stop fucking gutter entertainment. Now, you know me, I'm not the biggest fan of this type of content, this type of whatever in the first place. I personally think there is a weird illness going on within the black community where for every content creator that makes stuff, that they always kind of lean on this fucking relationship, sex stuff. I don't know why it is. But to be fair to them, when you look at their views and their subscribers amounts and shit and the live shows they do, people like this sort of stuff. It's not for me, this type of conversations, this type of combos, these talks, these topics, but clearly there's a big audience for it. And to be fair, I also think in probably most Western countries, there's a version of this, right? Because this BKCHAT thing reminds me of like Zeus Network in America. It reminds me of Baddies. Like, I guess every Western country has their, you know, its trashy side of entertainment that people say they don't like me, but maybe secretly watch, or people that enjoy because it's like their guilty pleasure. So I guess it exists. Anyway, long story less long, they've got a new trailer they just popped out that has been doing numbers on my side of social media. So I wanted to check out and react to it with you guys live and direct. So let's see what's going on with BKCHAT, because this video has got already 1.6 million views on fucking Twitter. So people have been going crazy for it. So let's see. This is the trailer for the new season. Of BKCHAT. Let's see what I want.
Bring women that have a misfortune in their lives at the point say they're not women. Go to hell. How about that?
Because I'm back.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome.
Because you was talking perfectly fine, no attitude, and you was delegating yourself perfectly fine, and then black attitude happened.
That's me. That's me. Pissed off the gingerbread man.
Yo, big up Fashion Road, man. Big up Fashion Road, man. Wild country. Oh. These shows, man. Gingerbread man, you know. These shows, man. Look what they be doing to us, man. Look, everyone's got Van Cleef or Von Claire. I don't know, you know. Von Claire's accessories. I don't know. It's going to be a funny show to watch. Let's just check it out.
If I'm trying to quote you, as you said, yeah.
When a girl talks like that, it makes my dick want to shrivel up into itself, mate. I swear to God.
And I offer to take you out to the restaurant. You keep coming. And certain times it's about what you're accepting. Sometimes women accept too much.
You said you believe in God and that.
Sometimes what's that word that comes out whenever BKCHAT's on Twitter? Misogynoir, right? Misogynoir, which is misogyny that is very much directed towards black women by black men, you know. People love to throw that out there. I think we're gonna hear that word, hear that phrase being banded around social when this shit fucking goes live, for sure.
I don't think you want to align with witches. Witchcraft is not good for you, bro.
In Brixton.
Really? Witchcraft is not good for you? I had no idea. Thanks for that, mate.
You'll call them, oh, you're 10 minutes late for your appointment, where are you? I'm still walking. To this day, she must be still walking to the shop.
Now you lot want to be like pushing up yourself into a woman's gym. But go sit on one bomber clap, here's what I'm doing the dark.
Whenever there's a transgender man telling a woman what it is to be a woman, there's always a woman stood by him.
Hey. None of you are actually eligible bachelors for a woman of high quality in her prime years.
Are you the teacher? Why are you disciplining with sex? But if he's telling you he doesn't have money to give you now, choo.
As a Christian, right? I'm praying for a man that knows how to control himself.
God designed you to support me. God made me first, Christian.
You know what I would actually like? You know what I'd actually like? Because I don't know these guys' ages. You know what would actually be way more fun? Because I think the Gen Z generation are just, you know, they're a little bit different, you know? They're a little bit more interesting to kind of listen to in this sort of topic. I'd like them to be on the show. I think people on this show now, I don't know, again, no idea who these people are, but just by looking at them, they look a bit older, right? They look like maybe they're in their 30s and shit. I would like to see younger kids. I'm not going to lie. As weird as that may sound, right? Pause, you know, in all the right places. I would like to see younger kids do this and get their perspective on what it means to be quote unquote black in the city, living here, relationships, this, that, religion, you know, societal pressures, whatever. I'd like to see those kids actually give their impression on those type of things and debate. I think you'd get a far more entertaining show, far more informative, far more eye-opening. And it actually might, in a weird way, affect some change. But all these fucking people shouting at each other, I don't know if people really give a fuck. I don't know if you're going to get anything, you know, noteworthy from this. Maybe that's the whole point. It's not about being noteworthy. It's not about having something of substance. But I think it would have been better if they had a younger cast of people.
Actually, man that have this stuff written down in their notes, talking about, I want to do this and do that. Once they copy, they're out and they're gone.
If you've not been into a place to terminate a life, you can't know what's going through that woman.
Oof, that's a heavy lisp, isn't it? God damn, let's go back again. That's a heavy lisp. He's probably gonna get rinsed on this. He's probably gonna get rinsed on this show. You know it.
If you've not been into a place to terminate a life, you can't know what's going through that woman's head. What are you doing? You're going in there killing the child. They are 1 and 2. Look, 1, 2. They'll kill it.
They're boring. They're
you want to know why it's boring?
They'll kill it. These conversations, man.
If you had only done it with a few guys, yeah, then it'll be a new experience. But since you're talking to all these guys, racking up mileage, throwing box, getting lamb chops is gonna be boring.
Dinalva like to lick this menyash. She can't remember, she's a girl too, you know. Dinalva, you're not a girl's girl.
There's enough girls out here that if their man down...
Rah. What's she doing on there? What's she doing on there? That's fucking, what's her name again? Caramel? I don't know, whatever. She used to be on RTM. Like, this is a grown-ass woman. See, I don't know, the cast is too old for me, you know? This is probably a cameo. She's probably just popping in just for like, you know, I'm the star, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know, I just want younger kids, man. This is a bit washed, I'm not gonna lie, but she looks good here. She looks good. I'm not sure if that's Chanel. I'm not sure if that's Chanel. I'm not too sure if that's top Chanel, but wherever it is, looks good.
Loaded their file today, they would not be to with them. Remember that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Know your file.
Okay, we're gonna stop there and we're gonna take it to the audience.
One thing that my Nigerian friend always says, I'm gonna marry once and I'm gonna marry right. And that's what I want.
She definitely likes rum, innit? That girl definitely likes rum, right? You know that girl definitely likes rum. She definitely knows how to make fucking igusu and all this sort of shit. You can just tell, innit? You can just tell one of them. She definitely. Her whole playlist is full of fucking ashake, you know? Fuck off.
Wait, what's happened?
Oh my god.
What? What?
That guy's the OG, innit? That guy. I think that's the guy's the OG. He's the OG. I remember his face. He's an OG.
But you're abusing your power by making me do it at times where I don't want to.
But when you see my face, you're still sad?
Yeah.
Cookie.
Ah, that's the guy that was making faces on TV, innit? I think he's trying to go viral. He went on ITV and started popping his eyes out or some shit. Yeah, I remember this guy. He must be a comedian. I'm assuming that's why he was doing all the faces. Probably doing a bit too much, but you know, you gotta do and make content.
A piece of me, just tell me. I don't understand. Why is it any time to do with sex or anything like that? You always look at me.
There's a reason why people do that to you, bro. You're too fucky. Calm down.
Back chat, you know. If you wanted me to come on here, you know it's gonna be a madness.
Gingerbread man. He looks like the UK version of what's his face? Coiler Ray's dad, isn't it? He looks like the UK version of Coiler Ray's dad.
Here's why I don't date black women. Listen to me when I'm talking to you lot.
I'm listening.
I don't date black women because you don't like to get put in your place.
You don't like to get put in your place. This, I might have to watch. I might have to do a reaction for this. This is so messy. And look at the guy's lips. They're grey, innit? Fucking hell. All right.
In your place.
Yeah.
Which place?
So it's starting when? Oh, it's already started then. So it's already on now at the moment. Okay, cool. So I might do a reaction to it tomorrow. But yeah, man. You know, black people love to fucking argue about this type of shit, I guess. A certain population of them like to anyway. So big up BKCHAT. Let's see how it rocks out for them. Cool. Dame Dash is currently going through a back and forth with Cameron, which is really heartbreaking to see because they're long-time friends, long-time colleagues, long-time sparring partner, not sparring, but just, you know, whatever. And it's kind of sad to see them breaking up. Obviously, you know, it was heartbreaking to see Rockefeller break up in the first place, the fucking, you know, break up of their relationship between Jay-Z and Dame Dash. But to see Cameron and fucking Dame falling out is really heartbreaking, you know, as a fucking Diplomats, Dipset, you know, fan from back in the day. Seeing these guys not be on good terms anymore is really heartbreaking because they seem like they had the world in the palm of their hands, and some of them have kind of let it slip away. Some of them, you know, are kind of hanging on for relevancy. Dame Dash recently sat down on his channel actually and responded to Cameron, because Cameron basically divulged some stuff about Honor Up, this movie he was in, and how Dame Dash was a bit funny style in terms of how he got him on the movie. And he mentioned some other stuff as well that he wasn't happy with Dame. And Dame basically took that as disrespect. Like, hey, we're boys, we're brothers. You should be able to call me. You shouldn't publicly be airing this stuff out because it makes us all look bad. So Dame decided to address this, right? He addressed this on his channel. And he looks really worse for wear, man. He looks really, really, really worse for wear. Really worse for wear. He mentions in the video that he has diabetes and he has fluid in his eye that had to get drained. That's why he's got an eye patch. And then his teeth, he had veneers or something put in ages ago, but 5 of them broke, which affected his gums. So now he has to get a whole, you know, surgery done on his teeth. It's just, so he basically has no real teeth. I think on the front of the teeth or the top row. So he sounds and looks pretty horrible, right? And it got me thinking about karma, because a lot of people say that Dame Dash has ended up the way he has, not being a billionaire like Jay-Z, right? Dame Dash and Jay-Z went their separate ways. Dame Dash kind of always accuses Jay-Z of fucking him over when it comes to Rockefeller and later on Rock Nation and shit. But essentially, one person in Jay-Z went on to become a billionaire, legend, businessman, you know, legendary rapper or whatever, and then Dame Dash ended up, you know, going the independent route and kind of just like scrimping by, declaring bankruptcy and all this sort of madness, baby drama, And some people say it's to do with karma, because in their peak, in their pomp, when Dame Dash was out here fucking spraying champagne on girls and shit in music videos, people allege that Dame was a bit of a dickhead to people, which you can see in documentaries and videos and stuff. Dame was really like letting his nuts hang, as 6ix9ine would say. He was letting his nuts hang. He was letting his nuts drag behind him. He was really feeling himself. And there's that common saying people say about you should treat people on the way up. Treat people good on the way up, because you might meet those same people on the way down. And Dame didn't really abide by that. And some people suggest that maybe the people that he fucked over those days, you know, wished ill will on him, and that's just why he's ended up in the position that he's in, where his body is literally deteriorating, his bank account is deteriorating, his fucking public image is deteriorating in real time, and people are alleging it could be karma. Me personally, before I play the clip and read this thread, I don't believe it. I don't believe in karma, because I feel like there's a bunch of horrible, downright evil people out there that get away with it, who sleep like fucking babies and don't feel any empathy, sympathy, remorse for any of their actions. And, you know, no one is none the wiser to some of the heinous things they've done. So I'm not really the biggest fan of this selective karma, because you don't like somebody, you want to attribute karma to kind of make you feel better that the world is just and fair, when really it isn't just and fair. Some people get away with it, some people don't. Anyway, this is a clip of Dame Dash talking, and he looks very, very, very worse for wear.
me, or things that just need to be dealt with. Number one, yesterday I got a surgery in my eye because I had to remove liquid that's in my eye because I'm diabetic. You could diabetes shame me if you want, but other diabetics can relate. You know, you get these things that are called floaters in your eye, and I got gel, everyone does, in their eye. It makes the blood stay there, so they had to take the gel out. And, you know, I kind of stopped. Like, I didn't want to start to do this bosses take losses again until I got my new teeth, but it was so complicated. But we're finally dealing with it. And I just feel like there's some things I need to say today. And, you know, usually, you know, the last interview I did with the bandana, but I can only justify dressing like, you know, a cowboy when I'm on. Tweak is a ranch, or the family ranch, and we're not there right now. But I have things that I want to say, and I think I want to talk clearly, so I'm not going to sit here and rip my teeth all day, and I don't care. Get your jokes. But know that right now I'm in my dentist office, and tomorrow I'm getting a surgery, and hopefully by the time y'all see this, I'll have some new teeth. But, you know, these are like my dentist. I had some grills, and until I could get things sorted out, you know, he made them. Alligator Jesus made them, but they don't hold nothing because all these implants broke in my mouth, which has nothing to do with age or it's never happened before. No one knows of 5 implants breaking. But I do have some things that I want to say.
So yeah, he looks very, like, he's obviously getting older too. So that's kind of heartbreaking to see somebody like this, right? Aging right in front of you. But he's looking, you know, very, very, very worse for wear. And, you know, some people attribute that to karma. And this guy wrote a really interesting thread regarding this whole thing that I wanted to quickly touch upon. He said the following in that video: "It's hard to see Dame Dash go out like this, man. When I was a kid, this man used to wear an outfit one time and throw it away. He was into the European models. He was creating indie classics. Without Dame, you might not have Hove, because he was the personality behind Hove early on. He made a lot of enemies in the industry because he was a little too arrogant, and they wanted to humble him. But damn dog." And effectively, that's what happened, didn't it? People did say that he was walking around like his shit didn't stink. He was walking around like, you know, he was made out of money, which he was at that time. I do remember that period where they would literally be wearing clothes one time and then throwing it away. I think that whole crew are the ones that popularized the whole wearing the white Air Force Ones once. I do remember seeing one video of like Dame Dash's room or hotel room back in the day, and it pans across to the hotel room, and it is like a whole pile of Air Force Ones that have all been worn literally once. They've been taken out of the box, worn once, and then fucking dumped, and they just left there in the fucking pile. Absolutely fucking crazy. So that's how they were kind of balling out. But especially if you think back then, right, when people were making real money from the music industry, selling fucking physical CDs, live shows and shit, you can only imagine the amount of money they were fucking touching. So with that money, especially at their young age, because I think all those guys must have been, if I'm not mistaken, in their 20s, 30s and shit, making crazy amounts of money, traveling the world, seeing things that they probably had never ever seen. So it's no surprise that their egos went kadubadum-dum. But for Dame, for some reason, he just seemed to go a little bit more crazy than everybody else, and he turned everybody against each other. And I know I'm a big believer in, you know, look at how things play out. Basically, Dame's on his own. Everyone else associated with Rock Nation or Rockefeller, they're still kind of working together. They're still in cahoots, and Dame's the only person doing his indie thing on his own island. That would lead you to believe that maybe Dame was a problem. You know, if everyone else can seem to fucking let bygones be bygones, bury the hatchet, move on, work together just to get money, whatever they're doing, and Dame seems to be the only person left out in the lurch, that shows you that most likely he was the problem. And you knew he was a problem when they did what did they do? I think they did like an anniversary, like a museum thing in New York recently for Jay-Z. I forgot what album it was celebrating. Maybe it was Reasonable Doubt, but there was some album they were celebrating the anniversary for recently, and Dame was involved with that album heavily at that time because he was working with Rockefeller, and he was obviously, you know, working with Jay-Z closely. And if I remember correctly, there's no mention of Dame Dash in that entire exhibition. Even though he worked on a lot of that stuff, there's no mention of him at all in there. And I think that was one of the scary things for a fan. You're like, fuck, that's confirmation that, he's been like, you know, they're trying to essentially erase him from the history of that fucking crew completely. So it's just heartbreaking to see. It really is heartbreaking to see. But the guy has got a further fucking thread here where he touches upon it, and he kind of draws parallels between the ending of Snowfall and the ending between fucking Jay-Z and Dame Dash, which, you know, Snowfall ending is fucking horrible, to be honest. Heartbreaking shit. Let's scroll down and read what he says here. And obviously on one side you got Dame Dash missing teeth, looking kind of bloated, and the other side you got Jay-Z looking, you know, expensive and rich at the Rock Nation brunch, sipping some champagne. So you couldn't get more contrasting image, right? Let's go down. It says Hove needed Dame early on. Dame was the mascot, he was the businessman. When Hove was kind of reserved and shy, Dame was out there in the front promoting and bragging on how great Hove was and how the world would one day know it too. When nobody at the labels believed in Hove, Dame did. He was as important to Hove as Flavor Flav was a Public Enemy, ODB to Wu-Tang. Yeah, and there's an old picture of Dame Dash with Jay-Z back in the day. Big L also there. I don't know who this guy is down there, but big up Big L, one of my favorite rappers from back in the day, passed away very early on, didn't really get a chance to fulfill his potential. But later on I found through YouTube documentaries and shit that Big L was a bit of a goon back in the day. So effectively people were saying on these YouTube documentaries that he would have met his end at one point, because Big L was out here allegedly robbing people, you know what I mean, jacking people and stuff. Like, he was really living that life. So eventually he would have probably got his comeuppance, you'd think. But RIP Big L, same way. It continues. The crew got divided, and just like in the show for Snowfall, it was an outsider white plug that divided the crew. People took sides, and the guy who sided with the plug remained on top. The one who didn't, well, you know the rest. That's all we can say. And obviously they're talking about, you know, this fucking guy, I forgot his fucking name again. I think he's at YouTube now, the guy in the middle. But yeah, they're drawing the correlations for that in terms of the split. But it probably came before that, I reckon. Hove got out of the game on top. He turned into a suit. He cleaned up his street image. He didn't burn bridges in the industry. He got a good wife. He helped change his life around. She helped teach him that life is more than stunting on niggas and being arrogant. Very true. Very, very, very true. The glow up is actually kind of impressive if you think about it, isn't it? When it comes to Jay-Z, the glow up is kind of impressive. Like, to leave that image that he once had where he was essentially talking about, you know, selling bricks and shit, and then suddenly become a family man, you know, with not that many controversies when it comes to the relationship. Obviously he had that Becky with the good hair shit, but for the most part he's been pretty well behaved. Dame was a great businessman, but at times he was too arrogant for his own good. As far as business goes, he talked to people crazy. He got so big-headed that he became bad for business, and Hove had to separate himself from him because the big guys at the top were no longer going to allow Dame to act like it was their industry. And before he knew it, they pulled the plug underneath. They pulled the rug from underneath him. He took the chance on Kanye, which helped to keep that connection, but arrogant Kanye is a student of the Dame, and he suffered the same ending, except Ye, he had more bread, but they tried to bleed Ye too. Very good point. Very, very, very good point. Ye also, you know, was taught a very big lesson about, you know, there's no one bigger than the program. Ye definitely got that message. It still boggles the mind how that was possible when Ye fell out with, Ye got fucking let go from Yeezy. With the whole fucking, you know, when he started going on these fucking anti-Semitic fucking tirade. I remember that story that came out that they had somehow reversed his payment, or like put it on, no, I think they reversed the payment, maybe it's because of a certain amount, but if I'm not mistaken, they froze his account or something, that's on their end. Which is like, how could a company that's paying you money for services rendered freeze your bank account? You know what I mean? It makes no sense, but I'm sure there's some financial things you can do in the back end, but that was fucking scary, you know, that they were able to just kind of, you know, fucking turn his tap off and shit. Absolutely wild scenes. It continues. The business brothers that started together and built a dynasty, man, in a perfect movie, the ending would close with these two brothers as billionaires going into old age, balling out forever, enjoying their kids and grandchildren in mansions and on yachts, still making power moves together. But in reality, it doesn't end like that, unfortunately. Exactly. Unfortunately, it doesn't really end like that, which is why I think when it's all said and done, because I have a feeling Tyler's gonna do that, because Tyler's crew seems quite solid. when it's all said and done, I think people are gonna owe Tyler, you know, a lot of fucking credit and praise. You know, if he's still around, what, Taco, that Dolphin guy, I forgot his name, the other dude that stars in The Bear, right? He's got a little crew that he's still with now from Odd Future, and they're all doing great things. One of them's like a, you know, I guess like a socialite type of guy. One acts, one's still involved in music, you know. One is probably doing writing for comedy stuff and shit. That's fucking awesome. Like if they end up staying together, if they end up still being friends, you know, in like 20 years time, it's gonna those guys deserve a lot of prop, because you even see with ASAP Mob have kind of fallen apart. I think I saw an interview with ASAP Ferg where he basically said ASAP Mob doesn't exist anymore. ASAP Rocky is probably ASAP Ferg and ASAP Rocky are the only two active people making music out of that group. Maybe at a stretch you could say ASAP Ant, maybe ASAP Nast. He put out a single recently, weirdly enough, I think with Offset, but in large, ASAP Mob is kind of dead. So those guys are fall by the wayside, but it's pretty hard to keep a group like that together, you know, over time. It's really, 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 really hard to do so. Exactly as hard as you, especially with Yams passing away. In the end, as of now, Dame is not on the top, balling out like you would expect him 2 years later, as a legend that he is. The man for a big fan in that dynasty is kind of sad to see. A fuck changes and love changes. The best friends become strangers, says Nas. And yeah, man, it's sad to see. Sad to see. It really is sad to see. Big up Russian Road, man. We're saying, yeah, Jay-Z and Dame Dash are as bad as each other, not gonna lie. Yeah, for sure. I think Jay-Z and Dame Dash are kind of like Virgil and fucking Kanye, you know, in that respect. Like they're probably quite similar in personalities, but one just knows how to work with others better, you know. Like I think that was basically what it came down to. Like one was able to work well with others, one wasn't, and unfortunately one had to pay a big price for not being able to work well with others. Because I can't imagine how that must feel to be Dame Dash, to be somebody that was responsible for basically molding, shaping, directing Jay-Z's career early on. Obviously, Jay-Z's talent was always going to get him where he was going to get him to, but still, you played a big part in creating some big records, big moments, big videos, big business plans, shifting culture, right? Influencing culture. You put your fucking, you know, you let your little notch on the cultural timeline of history, right? Which we all want to do. It's really hard to do so, but we want to live our little indentation on the little there. I mean, little nick on it. So you let this nick on it. To then turn around and see this guy like owning stadiums, you know, multiple Basquiat pieces, mansions, like, you know, companies after like, I don't know what that must do to a man's psyche, man. For me, that would make me wake up in a cold sweat screaming. That would make me wake up in a cold sweat screaming to see somebody that I kind of helped mold be so clear of me like that. You know what I mean? That would fucking hurt so bad. So, you know, maybe we're seeing that the hurt and the hate manifesting itself in Dame Dash teeth falling apart. Because you can think about it. If you're like, think about it this way. It makes sense why his teeth are falling apart, innit? Because when you're stressed, even me, when I'm stressed, which I don't get stressed actually, but if I'm feeling a little bit apprehensive, right, or a little whatever, sometimes I can grind my teeth. So I can imagine if you're really stressed out, and you know, and your former business partner is now a fucking billionaire 2 times over, you're probably gonna be grinding your teeth a lot. And I'd imagine also another part, if you're really feeling, you know, a little bit, you know, overwhelmed, you sometimes get headaches. You sometimes get migraines. Sometimes in your head and shit. And sometimes it can, you know, when you're really stressed or really worried about something, your optical nerve can shake, whatever, right? So I could imagine that could be the reasons why he actually is falling apart like this. All that stress, all that fucking anxiety, grinding his teeth, bang, his fucking, you know, veneers or whatever they are, they fall out. All that stress thinking about how he fucked up certain things, fumbled the bag here, fumbled the bag there, wondering if he's going to go bankrupt, wondering if he has to sell all his assets, this and that. Boom, you're stressing in front of your head and now you've got fluid in your eye. So that wouldn't surprise me if those were some of the causes. It really wouldn't surprise me. But, you know, he does say his diabetes. He did say it was a dental issue that was just a rare one because 5 of his teeth cracked at the same time. So it could just be one of those coincidences. But either way, I feel bad for Dame. I hope he works it out. I really fucking hope he works it out. Talking about working it out. Someone needs to tell Rampage Jackson to shut the fuck up. Someone needs to tell Rampage Jackson to shut the fuck up. What am I talking about? Rampage seems to be unable to shut the fuck up regarding his son Raja's crazy attack on that professional wrestler SykoStu the other day. It was a brutal attack, horrendously violent attack. SykoStu's only been discharged from hospital recently. He had his wife made an update. Allegedly, you know, his face, look, he's got injuries and trauma on both the upper and lower jaws, laceration to his upper lip, and a fracture of the maxilla bone, which I googled the other day and found out the maxilla bone is the bone that holds your nose together. The bone, with the bone behind your nose, essentially. The bone that fucking holds your front teeth and shit. That got fractured. I can't imagine how much that must hurt. So, you know, and said the loss of several teeth. So he's fucking going through it. There's a long road to recovery for SykoStu. And you'd imagine with the fucking crazy unprovoked nature of that attack, you'd imagine that most likely, you know, Rampage Jackson's going to be facing some criminal charges. Something's going to be happening. You'd imagine so. If not, fair enough, but it's a serious enough issue that if that was your son, you would be like, hey, I've got to deal with this privately at home. I've got to deal with this, you know, with fucking lawyers and shit privately too, to make sure we're covered. But you wouldn't be talking in public. You wouldn't be going on stream personally, if it was me, if that was your kid. You'd be more worried about making sure you have all your I's and T's dotted, your T's crossed and shit, and everything in place just in case things go left. Just in case there's a lawsuit, just in case there are charges. You want to have everything fucking patterned. For whatever reason, Rampage Jackson doesn't seem to be bothered about that sort of shit. And you know, he's giving interviews, he's talking, he's yapping. In this particular interview, he sits down with Ariel Helwani, and in a way, he blames SykoStu for what happened. He basically says in this video, he should have at least said something and take some accountability. None of this shit would have ever happened if SykoStu never hit my son on the back of the head with a fucking can. So he's basically trying to say that SykoStu brought this upon himself. What? Victim blaming and shit. The funny thing about this is that we've all seen the video numerous times, I bet. And in the video, SykoStu incorrectly and but mistakenly hits Raja on the head because he thinks he's involved. He thinks he's taking part in whatever wrestling fix, whatever they got going on there. He quickly realizes as soon as he hits him that he's not involved. And SykoStu apologizes profusely. In my world, as a man, in your world, I'm sure as a human being, if somebody does something to you like that, but they're very apologetic and you can tell they're earnest, you can tell they're sincere, usually as a normal, well-adjusted person, you accept their apology and you move on. What you don't do is accept their apology and then later on, if you see them down the street somewhere, you run them over with your car. You don't do that because that's not a like retaliation. They said sorry in that moment. They apologized profusely. You should accept their apology there or not. But you don't accept someone's apology and then later on decide to fucking crush their fucking face in the fucking ring. That's not fair. So to blame SykoStu for this is fucking crazy. But this also, in my opinion, is another example as to maybe why Raja did that in the first place. Because, you know, he has a representation of his fucking upbringing. And if Rampage is his dad, it's fair to say that he didn't have the easiest or the best upbringing. So it's probably no surprise to Raja to be the way that he is. Everything makes sense. The more Rampage talks, the more sympathy you weirdly have with Raja and his upbringing. It still doesn't absolve him of what he done. You know, that was fucking crazy. He could have literally killed that guy in there. But it's really interesting to see just how reflective, you know, it is one-on-one in terms of, you know, Rampage seems like a bit of a shit dad, and it's no surprise that he's raised a shitty son. Let's play the clip.
You know, where would we be if Raja would have killed that man? Where would we be? Thank God SykoStu, you know what I'm saying, pulled through. You know, I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I stopped listening to the attorneys. I got really upset with all the death threats and all this stuff, and I wanted SykoStu to tell his part that...
Come on, Rampage, man. I don't like this fake victim thing he's trying to do. Death threats, brother. You're a UFC fighter, man. UFC MMA has some of the worst toxic fan base trolls in the entirety of fucking sports, professional sports. They're so toxic. They're so fucking annoying. He for sure has received his fair share of death threats over the years. Like, stop acting like this is the first time you've ever received it. Stop acting like you're even scared in the first place anyway. Like, come on, Rampage, man. Come on.
My son did not sneak up on him, and I never heard him say that. So now I'm upset. Now I'm upset. Now I'm upset with SykoStu because he didn't come out and say, "Oh, whoa, yeah, what Roger did was fucked up," but he didn't sneak in the ring and do this. The shit was staged. That's all he had to say to get some of these racist ass motherfuckers out of my DMs. Hey, he's seeing all this shit how it fucking blew up and stuff like that. He should at least said something.
Okay.
Take some accountability. Like, honestly, everybody was wrong. Roger was the most wrong. Everybody was wrong, but none of this shit ever would have happened if SykoStu never hit my son on the back of the head with a fucking can that they was drinking beer out of, and then grabbed him by the fucking neck, asked him to fucking sell it. If that shit never happened, none of this shit never happened. And the promoters was wrong for putting an outsider inside a motherfucking pro wrestling match.
Again, in this clip, I get what he's trying to say, but he's still spending more time talking about what other people did wrong than what his son did wrong. His son did the worst thing possible in this situation. Everyone said you could blame maybe the other wrestler guy that was telling Raja to go get a receipt, which is a term in wrestling for getting your lick back if somebody hits you too hard. You can blame the organizers for getting fucking Raja involved. You can blame SykoStu for hitting the kid on the head with a fucking can in the first place. You can blame the Uber driver for fucking dropping him off there. Whatever you want to blame, but at the end of the day, the person that has most blame is Raja. The person that probably should get should bear the full consequences of his action is Raja. Nobody else gets, like, do you think SykoStu is ever going to hit somebody over the head with a can again? Unless he's doubly sure they're involved. Do you think he's even probably going to wrestle again? Probably not. But that doesn't fucking move away from the point. Move away from the point that the lack of accountability that Rampage seems to have for his own son is very troubling, very concerning. Because it kind of shows that maybe behind the scenes there is a real lack of remorse. They don't really give a fuck. They're like, yeah, chat shit, get banged. Fuck around and find out, innit, SykoStu? You hit me with the can, and then I fucking crush your fucking maxilla bone. And it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know about you, but if somebody hits you over the head with a can of Pepsi or whatever at a wrestling match, do you really think that's grounds for you to crush the bone behind their nose? I don't know. I don't think that's a like-for-like retaliation, you know? I can't tell you how to be offended. I can't tell you how to be annoyed. I can't tell you how to fucking reply or respond, but it just doesn't seem like a like-for-like escalation of fucking violence. It doesn't seem like that. But there's one more clip that's really fucking concerning. One more clip that's really concerning is this clip, courtesy of Eric Hawani's show, where Rampage Jackson says he's cut his own son off. And again, just stop talking. This guy just needs to stop talking. But allegedly, Rampage has cut his own son off because of this whole issue.
Are you at all worried about his well-being?
Yeah, it's my son. I am worried about his well-being. How many kids you got?
I got 3.
All right. So why you asking me some stupid ass shit?
Well, can I be real with you?
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it would feel like to see my son do that. I also don't think I would cut my son off if he did that. So if you are worried about his well-being, why are you not talking to him?
Exactly.
Because he dishonored my name. And
but he's still your son.
No, listen. I know he's my fucking son. I'm not cutting him off for forever. I just haven't talked to him.
But this is the worst moment of his life. Christ. He needs you now more than ever.
No, listen, I talked to him after the shit happened, and he hid the fact that he did this shit. And you know, he put my other kids at danger based off what the other people said, and I just can't talk to him right now. I just can't. I'm not saying I'm never going to talk to him again. I just can't talk to him right now. I need some time. I'm dealing with his attorneys and all this shit, but I'm very disappointed in Roger. Like, yeah, I'm not a perfect parent, so I don't know what's the protocol to how much time you stop from talking to your son when he fucking goes out there and hurt somebody. He put a guy in a fucking hospital.
So again, he can't make his mind up. On one end, it's SykoStu's fault for hitting his son on the head with a can of coke, which he apologized for, but he then got his, whatever happened. But then on the other end, he's cutting off his son, and he hasn't spoken to him since after what happened, and when he lied to him, according to Rampage, and he doesn't know what to say. He's not going to speak to him anytime soon. And it's like, surely your son needs you now more than ever. People like myself, everyone else who's commentating on this, who's responding to this, who's replying to this, who's covering this story, they are obviously outraged and perturbed by the violence that was fucking, on display. What fucking SykoStu had to endure. Everyone's in shock about that. And most likely, most people probably would like to see justice get served, right? And Roger get put in prison or whatever. People are whatever, everyone's different. But that's just people on the outside. If you're the parent, you should be trying your bestest. You should be trying your darndest in this moment to try whatever you can to get through to that person. To try to use this really crazy, dramatic, bad moment as maybe an opportunity for your kid to grow up, Your kid maybe to get some help, whatever it may be. And for Rampage to just completely abandon his son when he's going through his toughest moment ever, it's just, it says everything about why they ended up the way they ended up. There's other clips I've seen as well where it's made, it's been made abundantly clear that he has some favorites in the family and shit. Especially when you think about how crazy Raja is and stuff. And it's like, God almighty, man. Like, imagine growing up in a household like that, where your dad's got favorites. Clearly because of your own life choices and shit, so that makes you feel doubly bad. And yeah, it doesn't seem like it's going to change anytime soon. That's a really sad thing about it. And listening to Rampage talk, you think to yourself, Raja didn't stand a chance, mate. Raja didn't stand a chance growing up in that household. He really didn't stand a chance. Moving on, let's talk a little bit about this. I don't know if this is real. I don't know if this is true, because the account that I took this picture from, TMC, the music connoisseur, they quickly deleted it. I haven't seen any other big prominent UK culture, rap, whatever account covering it. But the picture you see on screen is of a prominent commentator here in the UK called Bouncer, who's been going viral and doing bits these last few months because he's been posting every day, covering a bunch of stuff going on in the UK industry, beefs, drama, all this sort of stuff. And people have been liking it, some people haven't been liking it, but he's been doing really well. And he's been doing really well, but he's also been causing some issues for himself and maybe ruffling some feathers. And from what I can understand, to make it simple as possible, the reason why people don't like him in the UK is because he comes from a road background, a street background, a gangster background, let's say, right? And because he comes from that background and knows certain things and privy to certain things, especially with his connection of working in the music industry, I think he was a manager and stuff before, and he was associated with Captain Conan before, people that are involved in that world are pissed off because he reveals some things on his pod that he probably should never reveal, inside information that people wouldn't know unless you kind of worked in that line of work. And just in general, some of the things that he says, people don't like how he covers things, and maybe has agendas on certain people. So people aren't fans. But essentially, what he's basically trying to do, in a way, for lack of a better term and description, is be like the UK version of academics. And what's been interesting to see, actually, is I've never actually sat and wondered why we don't have one. I'm not going to lie. It's never really crossed my mind. But when that conversation was happening around Bouncer's name, it did get me thinking, like, why actually don't we have one? And this picture, I think, is a reason why we don't have that same level of cultural commentary, coverage, I don't know, blog pages, gossip pages and shit here in the UK like they do in the US, especially not with faces. We have some platforms, but they're kind of faceless. And the reason is because we just respond differently to that sort of stuff, for whatever reason. Like, it looks like Bouncer went, I think he lives in Dubai, if I'm not mistaken. He probably went somewhere, and that one time he was at that one place, he bumped into somebody, and something went down and he got punched in the face. And the funny thing about this is that I don't think there's been a single moment where academics has been close to getting punched in the face, maybe with the exception of that Migos situation with Joe Budden. But academics has said a bunch of stuff on stream. He disrespected people, he said whatever, right? but he doesn't ever seem to be in danger of getting himself punched in the face. Now, don't get me wrong. Academics is also somebody that's very cautious. He's very careful. He might appear a bit reckless and dumb, but he doesn't move correct. So maybe that helps. But it's just interesting how forever this didn't happen in the UK. Let's just happen in Dubai. I don't know if this is true or not. But if that's the case, it just goes to show just how different things are in the UK, where you can unfortunately put yourself in harm's way if you do cover stuff a certain way, because unfortunately, unlike the US, you can't really just like be out of the way. Someone's gonna see you somewhere, and you don't know who the person would be. You know what I mean? Sometimes you get banged in the face by a person who's not even got an issue with you. He just representing somebody that has got an issue with you. So it's kind of sad to see this play out the way it's playing out, but I think it's also maybe a reflection of why this hasn't happened before. Why we haven't had like a Bouncer-esque character before, especially because you think about it, right? If people are pissed off with Bouncer, and again, that looks like his nose is broke, by the way. Judging from that picture, I'm not sure if his nose is already broke, but that looks like somebody broke his nose. And again, I don't know if this is a real picture or old one, who knows, but if this could happen to Bouncer, who's got some street connects, could you imagine what would happen to like a normal, regular person covering the same stuff that Bouncer covers, and you actually live in London? Could you imagine how that would go down? God almighty, man. Absolutely astonishing. Absolutely astonishing. Moving on, we got this pretty horrifying, sad story. People on social media, they say things like recession indicator, right? Recession indicator for this and that, which is self-explanatory. And they're never really recession indicators. I personally think this new wave, this trend, this movement of these young girls getting caught trying to smuggle back copious amounts of weed into the UK, I personally think that's a recession indicator. People like to throw around the term recession indicator, but I think teenage girls in their early 20s deciding to go to places like Thailand and try and smuggle back weed and shit to the UK is a real recession indicator. And you're seeing more of it every month, every week. I feel like I'm seeing a new article on some girl from the UK getting fucking arrested at the airport as she's coming back to the UK because she's got, however many pounds of fucking weed in her luggage. Absolutely crazy. Let's read the article first to the Daily Mail, because somebody else got nabbed the other day. A teen drug mule, 19, was caught smuggling 420,000 pounds worth of cannabis in her luggage after she was gifted a free trip to Thailand. Let's read the article. A teenage drug mule who was caught with 420,000 pounds worth of cannabis in her luggage after being given all expenses paid trip to Thailand has been jailed. How you said it? Ariana. Wow, so really spelling it. Ariana Sakor, 19, was caught red-handed at Heathrow Airport on June 2nd with 14 kilograms of Class B drugs that had been vacuum sealed and stuffed in a suitcase. The teenage hospitality worker, who was thwarted while walking through the green channel of customs, initially told Border Force officials the luggage did not belong to her. How often have they heard that? However, prosecutors Abdul Kapadia said officers found the suitcases and passport details matched her name. Sakor later told police in the interview that she had been contacted by someone in her social media that had promised her £20,000 as a reward for importing the cases to Britain. The really sad thing as well about this, right, from what I've heard from what I've heard on the streets and stuff, these guys and girls will promise you that amount, but you never get that amount. You might get a couple of grand, you might get $5,000, but you never get what they promise you. It never works out that way. So they make you go on this trip that's very, 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 very high risk and low reward, or it seems like high risk, high reward. But then when you get back, you never get the money they said originally they were going to give you. They always fucking bump you, always. It continues, says Mr. Kapadia said 19-year-old was in rent arrears at a YMCA hostel she had been living in Hillingdon, West London. Damn, man. Bless her. So she was struggling, right? Got rent that you haven't paid for time, bills stacking up, and then somebody gets at you on the socials and says, hey, I've got a way out. I've got a lifeline. I've got a fucking life jacket. I've got a parachute. You take it and then suddenly now you're doing time in prison. Shit. He added that her flights and hotels to Southeast Asia had all been paid for and that she was given around £200 in spending money while there. But Sakor, who claimed she had visited Thailand because her father lived there, said she met a ginger man in a nightclub, maybe that ginger man from BKCHAT, in a nightclub who took the money off me and never gave it back. Jesus Christ. So she was given 200. She was given £200 to spend in Thailand, which is a lot of money, by the way. Thailand's usually pretty cheap. And then when she gets there, the connect there takes that from her as well. So she was never going to get the 20,000 when she landed back in the UK. She gets given 200 to spend on spending money, which is out there. She doesn't get that either. And then she ends up in prison. Like, oh yeah. Just one horror show after the other. That's a young lady, by the way. Free her. What's her name? Yeah, we say Ariana Sakor. Free her. And those are the vacuum sealed packs of weed that she tried to import back. Crazy. I know Thailand's quite strict with drugs. I think weed is legal, if I'm not mistaken. That's why a lot of people like going there, because they've got some pretty decent coffee shops, and obviously the climate, weather is fucking brilliant, and it's a really cheap country to go to as well. But yeah, fucking what a risk. I don't know. I would love to see how many people actually get through. I bet it's low as well, because that destination must be so easy to spot people coming back who are clearly smuggling. Like, you know, pretty easy to tell. Border officials uncovered the 14 kilograms of Class B drugs in a vacuum seal stuffed inside Sakor's luggage. That's the luggage that she's got there. The court heard that Sakor had been threatened with sexual innuendos and was shown very unpleasant images of what would happen to her if she did not execute the drugs plot. Jesus Christ. Mr. Kapedia said that Sakor had traveled to Thailand and South Africa previously, but there was no evidence to suggest that she had imported. Yeah, she probably did. Come on. She didn't go to Thailand and South Africa just on the whim. If she owes rent arrears in the YSCA hostel, she's not going to Thailand and South Africa just for the views. She definitely did. She did 2 trips already. Probably got greedy, and here we are. Sakor appeared by video link from HMP Bronzefield, wearing a black top after earlier admitting that 1 count of importing Class B drugs. Defending Joe Morris said Sakor had very little knowledge of the extent of the operation and was remorseful and was vulnerable. Miss Morris added that the drug gang had recruited vulnerable young females to do their dirty work. This is a person who was involved in drugs through the pressure when she got to Thailand. She's from a fairly deprived background. She attended a behavior and correctional school, which is known for the social care services. That's the young girl there. She was in care of her mother who struggled with her own mental health. She was evicted from a YSCA hostel because she owed rent arrears, which does not suggest that she had most stable background. Her vulnerability was exploited. I wonder how they found out. Or maybe this word gets around. I wonder how people that exploit people like this find out. Are they able to just go through people's social media and see that you're fucking struggling and DM you and say, hey, I've got a lifeline for you? Or do they just get the word around the town and reach people out? I wonder how they do this, or how they identify their targets. You deliberately went out of Thailand to smuggle drugs back to the country. You did it because you expected to get £20,000, which is some very significant money for someone in your position. As you found out when you got there, things were not as enjoyable as you hoped, and I expect you were subject to unpleasant threats in terms of sexual innuendos, very unpleasant images that what might happen to you if you didn't go through with things. But you were knowing and willing participant in the scheme. You became a part of the organized crime group. You had influence on those high in the chain, but you had no influence on those high in the chain, but you did have some awareness of the scale of operation. I did consider a suspended sentence, but my concern is your knowledge of the enterprise and the fact that you may not have anywhere to live if you are released. Sakor had previously convictions for ABH. She was jailed for 15 months in order to pay £187 of victim surcharge. Asked if she understood the sentence, she said yes, with her arms crossed. So this, I think, explains why most girls are doing this. 15 months is not that long, you know. 15 months is not that long. She'll probably get out in 8. She'll probably get out in under 10. So it makes sense why a lot of these girls are trying this. It doesn't make sense because obviously you still spend time in prison. But I guess the risk is probably worth the reward, you know, or the reward is worth the risk. Because if you're promised 20 grand and if you get caught, you do less than a year in prison, you might even spin the block again and do it again when you get released. It's fucking crazy doing that. But after you get released, you might spin the block and say, hey, let's do it again. Because I've seen reports, as you can see via this article, in April, remember those 2 white girls that got caught? They got caught, and I think they got a suspended sentence in there. I think these girls got a suspended sentence because they had good lawyers, right? They probably had money. These are just greedy. They probably just needed more money. They already had money. They needed more money. So they were able to figure it out. And if I'm not mistaken, they got a suspended sentence. I'm pretty sure it was suspended. Yeah, who's been suspended? He sentenced Bannister for 20 months in prison, suspended for 18. So these girls both got suspended sentences. So as long as they stay out of trouble, they're not going to go to prison. With 30 days of rehabilitation and 200 hours of unpaid work. And the other woman got 18 months as well with 10 days of rehabilitation. So, you know, if you have the funds and you have the ability to kind of defend yourself, you can get off on these things. And look at even the packages. Look at even the Ziploc packages of weed. They even look identical. So most likely this is from the same cartel, the same syndicate who is fucking shipping these things over, right? They look exactly the same, those cases, those bags. So it just goes to show you that this is, for me, a real indication of recession. That these young girls who probably have, you know, there's other options out there. You probably just get a job as well. It's not like these girls are unable to get jobs. But this need for some fast money to cover arrears, to do this, to do that, is needed. And because people feel like they can't get it any other way, they kind of, you know, are susceptible to these fucking scams and these fucking hustles. It's sad, but it's true. It's true, but it's sad. Moving on to something really good and not sad. Moving on to something really good and not sad. Big up Bloodcut Supreme. Supreme have just finally, I feel like, because I feel like I've seen a leak of these pictures forever. They finally announced the release of the Nike Dunk SB pack, the lows, that have been doing around for ages, right? They're mostly color blocked ones. I think they're releasing them regionally as well. But these have been leaked. I think someone leaked these maybe last year or something. Honestly, I feel like I've seen this on my timeline forever. But now we have official confirmation that they're coming out this Thursday. Coach Supreme. Supreme has worked with Nike SB on a new variation of the Dunk Low. All Dunk Lows feature a rubber outsole, zoom air unit in the heel, padded mesh tongue, crow-banded footbread with mesh collar and tongue filling, metallic woven label on the tongue, debossed logo at the midsole, metallic embroidered graphics on the side and the heel. The white colorway features a leather upper and a 3M swoosh. The black colorway features a nubuck upper and a swoosh. The blue and purple and green colorways all feature suede uppers and a swoosh. Made exclusive for Supreme, the white and black colorways will be available world. So 2 of them are available worldwide, white and black. The blue will be available exclusively for North America. The purple will be available exclusively for Europe and the UK, and the green will be available for Asia. So these are region specific, which they don't usually do, to be fair. I can't remember the last time Supreme have done a region specific shoe. So this is pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie. It makes them a little bit more rarer. It makes them fun to try and collect them and shit. I ain't mad at them. And I also like the fact that they've done Dunk Lows instead of doing highs, you know? I think Dunk Lows shape, especially for SBs, I think they suit them more, especially this updated shape as well. I ain't mad at them. I ain't mad at them in the slightest. So these are the purple ones, which probably might be the most, this might be my favorite colorway. Not gonna lie. The purples ones might be my favorite colorway. You got purple and a mixture of grays as well on the upper. I did see somebody mention they're not a fan of having the 94 embroidery on the back of the heel. Some guys like, oh, I'm not about to have my fucking birth year on the back of my shoe. It's fucking cringy and lame. But I kind of like it. It kind of reminds me of the old school Nike ID times, you know, where you could put like random numbers or initials and stuff on your shoes. I don't mind that too much. But what I like the most about it is the colorway. I think this particular pair, this purple and nubuck grey pair, I think these will wear in beautifully well. Like these will age, these will get, once you beat these up, once you start skating, once you start wearing these in the rain, fucking them up, wearing them in a club and fucking Weatherspoons, I think these will wear in really well with the scuffs and bumps and shit. This is why I like that particular pair. Big fan of it. And of course, it's going to go with loads of shit. The white pair is also a bit of a standout, especially with that 3M swoosh. The white pair with the 3M swoosh is fucking fire. I love how whoever's wearing these, the fit model, I like how they relace the shoe too, to make them look extra crispy. But yeah, you've got a pure white up. I I guess upsole or outer, sorry, main body of the shoe. You've got the 3M swoosh, and then you've got what I like as a nice little detail. You've got the grey outsole, just to kind of break up the monotony of fucking white on top there. But they look fucking superb as well. And then you've got obviously the pair in white there with the flash on, so you can see the 3M swoosh. Not mad at that in the slightest. The leather on them also looks pretty high quality, which would make sense as well, because if you're going to make an SB with leather, you're going to want to improve the leather quality, so when your shoe is gripping and rubbing up against the grip tape, it doesn't, you know, essentially break. The green pair actually is really good too. The green pair remind me of a very rare Dunk SB. I think it's a high. It came out ages ago. Maybe it came out in the early 2000s. I think it actually might even be an SB. It might be one of the first SBs, if I'm not mistaken, like a orange and brown box SB, not even the silver boxes. But I remember it was a high. It's the same colorway as this, which is like green, a combination of like a forest green and a kind of khaki-ish light green type of colorway going on there. And I also like them because they've got the colored midsoles, which they don't usually do. Usually on most of the Dunks, whenever they have these color blocks, they usually give the midsole and leave it white. But I like that they've had this green as well, so you get a nice kind of you get a chunkier feel of the shoe, because there's so much kind of connecting the midsole with the mud guards and shit. I ain't mad at that. And again, you see more of it there with the puffy tongue as well. I ain't mad at that. And there's also a grey, I guess, or a black pair that's decent enough, but I think the colored ones are probably the way to go. They're all right, don't get me wrong. You know how much I love black shoes, but I think if you're going to get a pair from this collection, oh wow, and it's 3M. Okay, that changes it a little bit. The black one's got 3M. Is that the same pair? Yeah, that is, yeah. So the black one, is that the same pair? Maybe it's not, I don't know. I guess I'll double check here. But I think the colored ones are definitely the best ones. I think they're definitely the best ones available in Europe. So the purple one's a Europe one. This is available in Europe and the UK. The purple with the grey, definitely the best colorway in my opinion. Then this one, which is available in the green and the whatever that mustard brown is, that's available in Asia only. And then this one, which is this really cool black and blue combination, actually kind of reminds me of a Code.jp Dunk. I'm sure there's a Code.jp Dunk that has exactly the same sort of makeup, mock-up actually of colorways that looks really fucking cool as well. That's available in North America. And then there's a white pair that's available worldwide. So worldwide's got the white pair with the 3M swoosh. I ain't mad at it, man. And the black pair is also worldwide too. So quite a lot of shoes there, man. So how many pairs? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 pairs of shoes. And most of them are regional exclusive. The only ones that are worldwide are the white and blacks. But that purple one's definitely the winner. Definitely the winner, that purple one right there. That's definitely the winner. So I recommend you check it out if you are that way inclined. Check it out if you are that way inclined. Talking about things to check out, I also needed to mention quickly the release of the Berghain October lineup. The Berghain October 2025 lineup has just dropped, as it always does. I'm pretty certain the program drops for the following month. The program drops on like the first week of the previous month. So if I'm not mistaken, sometime around then, because we're like the 5th year, 4th year, so it's the first week is usually when it drops randomly. So always keep an eye out for that if you're trying to book your flights or tickets and stuff ahead of time. But we do have the October lineup here, which I'm kind of going to quickly go through, give you an idea on the things I kind of wanted to wait and see. But I'm sure some of you guys already know what I'm talking about in here. So the first Thursday of the October, which is kicking off on the 2nd, as the first listing, you got a Finest Thursday with LDS, Merv, Zanzibar and TBC. Then we've also got on the Friday a Panorama Bar night happening with Luca Del Orso, Jolisa, Alexander Paggio, Alexander Robotnik, Emil Doesn't Drive, Fabricio Morella, Fran Scala, Julia Gudra and Redondo. Then on the following night, or the same night actually, oh wow, okay, so ketamine, so that's an interesting, you don't usually have that. Panorama Bar and that Ketamine and Berghain, which is a place where they do the fucking live events, are open on the same night. You got Libertines record night happening with Bound by Endogamy, and Jana Woodstock playing, and someone called Chris Baha and Yoshi playing as well. I'm actually curious, who's Chris Baha? I'll actually have to see who is Chris Baha, right? Who's that? Who's Chris Baha? I'd like to see what they sound like. What does Chris Baha sound like? Let's check out his Instagram. Let's see what he's doing. What's Chris Baha doing on his Instagram? Electronic dance music artist and DJ. Let's hear what it sounds like. Is it going to be bleeps and shit, right? Yeah, decent. I need something better though. Come on, you can do me better. Someone do me better. There we go. I like this. Imagine hearing that. Imagine hearing that in the, what is it? Ketamine, how do you fucking say it, right? Is it how you spell it? Is it that? Imagine hearing this in this venue. I'm sure someone had a picture of it, right? There we go. Imagine seeing that in that venue, hey? Imagine seeing all of that in this venue in fucking Berghain. It's gonna be a fucking vibe. It's gonna be a fucking vibe. Honestly. That sounds really good. Let's see his another thing. This is him DJing in Mexico City. Yeah, I don't mind that. Big up Chris Baha. Big up Blood Clot Chris Baha. I don't mind that. I don't mind that in the slightest. I don't mind that in the slightest. So, pretty decent night there on that Friday. The following Saturday, you have regular club night happening. Berghain Room. You have Farah Live, Absolute, Ben Sims, UK legend, Fadi Moham, Mari Sakuri, Maron. Big up Maron, legend of the game, doing bits in there. He's getting booked a lot in there, by the way. He's kind of feeling like an unofficial resident. So all the haters over there on the Berghain subreddit, hey, he's there. He's not leaving. Philippa Pasho, Rolando, Panorama Bar Room. You've got Bashka, Cynthia, the Queen. Cynthia's playing. I fucking love Cynthia. One of the best house DJs out in the scene right now. What's she saying? Let's check out her Insta. She got any new things I can quickly sample and play here. Big up Blood Clot Cynthia. What happens when you ask me for a track ID? She's a lovely person. You do it to some DJs, they'll tell you to fuck off or they'll get security. The fact that she's mid-set, live streaming this set as well, recording this set, and she still has the kindness and the love and the appreciation to be like, yeah, of course, here's the ID. She's a lovely person. Most DJs won't do this. Most DJs hide their record box under the decks for the specific reasons. Obviously, you can hide under the decks. You kill two birds, one stone. You can take a quick bump. You can, whatever. You can brush your teeth, do whatever needs to be done. But some DJs put their fucking decks under the table so that you can't see what they're playing. So when it's over, Some of them, even if you're watching them play and you try and look at the fucking sticker, try and look at the label as it's playing, they shoo you away. They're very protective of it. Some DJs just play vinyl because it's harder to get vinyl than it is to get digital stuff. So the fact that she's so willing to kind of share, not be a fucking gatekeeper, right? Not fucking hoard, is fucking brilliant. Big up Cynthia. Absolute legend. It's impossible not to like her.
The DJ Kicks turned 40, and this is my contribution to it. I was number 77, and there's a new one coming out soon from the lovely people from Mode Selector, and we're gonna celebrate tomorrow at Silent Green from 7 p.m. I'm gonna be there as well, answering some questions about my approach to put mine together, and we will exclusively listen to the new one from the Mode Selector guys. Super excited. See you tomorrow, 7 o'clock, and we celebrated Silent Green.
Big up Cynthia, big up Cynthia. So Cynthia's playing on that night. Mandel, Mike Star Legend. You got New Digital, Fidelity, Paramida, Tamosuma, Factory Floor and Soul Room. The following week on the Thursday, the 9th of October, you got a Weirdos Night. You know, LOL Snake's going to be there. Solomon's going to be there. Dario Koloskova, Alpha Baron, Voiski. Actually, what the fuck is Dario Kolosova doing recently? I haven't heard of her. I seen her on my timeline in time. Some of these DJs kind of just dip from places. I don't know why I'm going for her. I ain't seen her about in ages. Big up Darky. Let's see what she's about. What's she been on lately? I feel like I haven't seen her on my timeline in ages. Dario Koloskova, and she was everywhere, especially during COVID. She was playing in Berghain a lot too recently, but she doesn't play there that often, it doesn't feel like. Let's see what she been doing lately. What's she been doing lately? We got a lot. Radio night. Is that Lucas Sabat? That's random, isn't it? Is that Lucas Sabat? Okay, cool. So I guess she's friends with Lucas Sabat. That's a small world, isn't it? Where worlds collide, right? Where worlds collide. A bit of fashion, a little bit of DJing, just like this show. So yeah, cool. Let's see another one. Her playing at the Street Parade last year. Nice. Her playing at Boiler Room. I can't really get an accurate judge on the temperature of that room. One guy's got a down jacket on. One girl's got a bikini top on. This girl's got what? I mean, like, what's the actual temperature in the room? Do we have to go by what this dreadhead is wearing or what these girls are wearing? It's always a pleasure to play for the Spanish crowd. They never disappoint and bring the best energy. Muchas gracias, Brunch in Barcelona. Okay, fair play, fair play. She's doing bits. As always, when it comes to music, just because you don't see somebody on your timeline, just because you don't see somebody going viral on your side of the internet, doesn't mean they're not grafting, innit? That's the thing with music. That's the thing with life. Because literally, I don't think I've heard of her in time, but she's still out here putting in work. So big up Daria Kolosova. Following that, you got a Hammam night happening with Courtesy, Hannah Holland, Joss Cafe, Ossiman, Sedif Adasi on the 10th. On the following Saturday club night, you got Colin Benders, Answer Code Request, Barker, Bestie Hira, Mary Yovzvozgaya, OPH, Reka Zalan, the Lady Machine, fucking legend, big up Lady Machine, Christian AB, one of my faves, Genie from Earth, legendary, Hiroko Yamamura, people love, Lakuti, Numan Nodge, Seth Chocolate the legend, Stella Zerky, then you got the Soul Night on the Thursday, the 16th, you got a Strange Wedding, Haruka, Hasvat Informant, You got a bite night happening on the 17th, or beta night happening on the 17th with Kangding Ray, Petra Fleur, Unhuman, Clarissa, Kaminsky, Gale, Matrix Man, Big Up Blood Clot, Matrix Man, Neri Ra, and Face Fatale all playing in Berghain Room. And then you've got Ketia, Pablo Boozy, Charlize, and THC. I always tell you about Pablo Boozy how much I'm a big fan of him of his, so definitely check him out. Then you've got a club night happening on the 18th with Blue Hour, Elisa B, Jacko, Luke Slater, Kelzer again. People are going to be upset about that, innit? The Berghain community subreddit, they fucking hate Kelzer. He's booked too often. He's too fucking ephemeral. He's too esoteric. But I like him. I like Kelzer. You got Renee Wise. You know how much I love Renee Wise. He's back again. Ryan Elliott's playing. Virginia. Panorama Bar Room. You got Aldona playing. Couple Looking for Bananas. That's a wicked DJ name. Couple Looking for Bananas is a fucking brilliant DJ name. Who the fuck is that? Couple Looking for Bananas is fucking awesome. Who is that? Couple Looking for Bananas. This Saturday. Let's see this. Who is that? Is that a group of guys? Okay, cool. So it involves, I guess it involves Chris Cruz, right? This Saturday, Couple Looking for Bananas all night long. So it involves Massimiliano Paligraria, Chris Cruz, and this person called Luigi De Verni. So that's their collective name, yeah? I like that. I ain't mad at that. I'm not gonna lie. I ain't mad at that DJ name for that group. I'm not mad at that. Couple Looking for Bananas. It's so fucking funny. Brilliant DJ name. I'm not gonna lie. I love that. And so you got that. Gian, Mashamar, Nix, Rotsiv, Tommy, and Vicky Powell. Then you've got a Soap and Skin night happening on the 22nd, Wednesday. Then on the following Thursday, you got a Binar night happening with Dold, Mary Julie, Parika, someone called Daru or Daira, how you pronounce that. Then you've got fucking Avalon Emerson's label night, 9,000 Dreams on the Friday. This is a good night. This is actually a really good one. This is a sly one. Avalon Emerson, in effect, Nathan McKay, Shanti Celeste, and Yusu. Just for Avalon Emerson alone, that's a good night on that 24th. The Saturday, you've got a regular club night happening with Delira, Arthur Robert, Chamey, Inox Tracks, Isabel Soto, Josh Wink, legend, Primal State, Steffi, legend, Ashton Swinton, Gerd Jansen, legend, Lauren, Natalie Ceres, Nick Hopner, legend, Richard Akipengbi, legend, in my opinion anyway, Stacey Hotwax Howe playing. Another good one, actually. This is actually a pretty decent weekend. A sly one. It's not going to be super full and bait, but that Friday 24th and the Saturday 25th might be a good option for some of you motherfuckers. But the most important one is this one. 20 years of innoversion. 20 years of innoversion. I've traveled the world. Well, no, traveled most of Europe, traveled most of the UK to see fucking Dixon and Co play. And I shall be there. The 31st of October, Friday. 20 years of innoversion in Berlin, featuring Jamie XX for fuck's sake, Trixon, Trix, Tasha, playing in fucking Panabar live, back to back with Desiree, Dixon, Jamie, Jimmy Jules, Julia Karma. I remember there was a year where I went to see Dixon play actually in Berghain. Memory it was fucking brilliant, but I haven't seen him play back in Berghain Panabar in years. So it's gonna be fucking awesome to see that. It's also going to be great to see the international crew of Innovision, friends and family, because we always seem to bump into the same people that go to these fucking events. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing them on the end of the month. So that's my pick anyway. That's my exact pick. I actually want to see, because let's see what Innovision Lovers is saying. I want to see what they're about, because I haven't seen these guys play or clips of them play on a timeline in ages. This is a clip of what? Of Trix playing recently from Innovision. What's Trix doing out here? Oh, I think this is muted, isn't it? Let me unmute this. Hearing this in Panabar is going to be so magical. Oof. Come on, man. That's a fucking great setting, wherever that club is. But hearing that sort of stuff in Panorama Bar in Berghain is going to be magical. I cannot fucking wait. I honestly cannot fucking wait to see them in their fucking hometown. It's going to be fucking crazy. Yeah, 20 years of fucking... Someone posted a flyer. 20 years of them over there. It's going to be fucking phenomenal. I honestly cannot wait. I'm so fucking excited. It'll be a good excuse to go to Berghain one last time before I go again at the end of the year. But yeah, that's the advert that they will put up there in Berlin, next to the fucking tower. Iconic place to put that there. I'm not gonna lie, the official flyer for it is fucking great as well. Everyone in the comments taking over as well. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. Really fucking looking forward to it. I cannot wait. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how many people I'm going to recognize when I go over there, because like I said, like whenever you see them play, I like that they call him Tricks. That's his first name, right? I like that they call him Tricks Bruno on here. It's fucking hilarious. Let's see, Christian, we Colunian Tricks in Woodstock 69. I want to hear this. Anyway, let me not get too excited. Let me leave it there. So big up Berghain. Fucking October program just released. Off the top of my head, if I'd give you some recommendations on nights to go and check out, I would definitely recommend to try something new and maybe go on the 3rd of October and check out the Panorama Bar night. You know, Atelo Disco. You can't go wrong with that fucking shit. They're gonna fucking have Panorama Bar spinning. It's gonna be fucking full of love, full of fucking sexiness, full of fucking big smiles, full of people dancing, melting their fucking faces. It's gonna be a fucking vibe. But then of course, in Berghain or in a live room, you're also gonna have someone that we mentioned previously or just checked out called Chris Baha. You're gonna have that whole fucking live setup with him using analog machines and stuff and synths and shit. That's gonna be a pretty cool thing to check out live as well, see him perform. And then of course on the following Saturday you have a night with Maron playing, Philippa Pasho, Fadi Moham, Cynthia playing, Bashka playing, Paramida, Mike Starr. So that's a pretty good weekend. I recommend check out the 3rd and the 4th. And then of course, aside from the one that I want to go to, which is the Innovision label night, maybe check out Weirdos on the Thursday. You know, LOL Snake is fucking great. Direct Kolosova I really like, and Solomon I know as well, but the rest of them I don't. But that might be a good way to check out the club and to see other places, other rooms like the Soul Room and whatever else it may be. But the standout for me, and of course the 90,000 Dreams night, which is always a big success over there in fucking Panorama Bar. But the standout for me is definitely the Innovision night. That Innovision night on the 31st, I will be there. By hook or crook, I will fucking be there. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Agostinho Zinga Show episode number 937. If it's your first time check out the show via the YouTube, make sure you smash the like, hit subscribe, all that good shit. If you're listening to this on the podcast app, then please leave me a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. Leave me a 5-star review. That would be greatly appreciated. Share the show with your family and friends. That will also be appreciated, but you don't have to do so. Those of you listening via the fucking, audio, Apple shit, you will hear my tune today. And for this particular show, because I'm feeling in a good mood, I will play the tune of the day for you video listeners too. So you'll be able to hear my tune of the day playing in the background as I sign off. My tune of the day is by none other than Pearly Drops. According to Google, Pearly Drops is similar to OK Lou, but I personally think Pearly Drops sound better than OK Lou. I think OK Lou's sound is a bit like boring for me. But this album that I really fucking like is this track from OK Lou called Shallow. It's a track from OK Lou called Shallow, which I really fucking enjoy. That will be my tune of the day, playing out as you hear my voice kind of fade out a little bit. So thank you so much for joining me on the Agostinho Zinga Show episode number 937. I'll be seeing you guys again very, very soon. For those of you who want to hang out, make sure you check me out on the random show, which should be starting in about 5 minutes after this particular stream ends. And the rest of you guys, I'll see you again tomorrow. But this is Pearly Drops, the track that I'm playing, my song of the day. Pearly Drops. The track is track 4 from the album The Voices are Coming Back. Track 4, Shallow, is my song of the day, courtesy of Pearly Drops. Peace out.
What's all of this for? You tell me. I don't know.
The voices are coming.